Good afternoon, everyone. I just want to thank Daniel and Alex Madrano for this privilege and opportunity. I want to thank Daniel for giving me that call. You know, it's so funny, you know, what he talks about. Daniel has been asking me for those 20 years to go into business with him, to join him, and I always kept giving excuses why I couldn't and why, you know, something else was in my way. And through the years, we've always kept in contact. And finally, he made this call, and I just said, I'm ready. You know, just sometimes it just takes time, and being in the right place at the right time. I'm a firm believer about that. Like, you guys are in the right place at the right time, you know, from hearing all these speakers. And as all the words that everybody has been talking about, I'm just saying they're in my notes. Everything I was talking about, they're talking about. So it has been, I mean, planned. Not just, we haven't talked about it, but it just seems like everything that we're about to say and talk about, we've all been, you know, went around in a room and had talks of what we were going to talk about. But on that note, they've asked me to talk about strategies. And listening to everyone's presentation, they have given you the best of what they have felt, and there is all different strategies that they have given you to achieve where you need to be. And when I looked up strategy, it says a strategy describes how the end goals will be achieved by the means, which is the resources. A strategy can be intended or can emerge as a pattern of activity as the organization adapts to its environment or competes. It involves activities such as strategic planning and strategic thinking. And every presenter today has talked about how we're going to get to your goals, you're going to have strategic planning and strategic thinking. And there's about 5 different strategies that I looked up, and one of them is called engaging and empowering people, strengthening governance and accountability, reorientating the model of care, coordinating services, and creating an enabling environment. And one of the ones that I looked at, and which I really think is important, is engaging and empowering people. You see, when you engage someone, you occupy, you attract, or involve someone's interest and attention. And in empowering them, you give someone the authority or the power to do something, to make someone stronger, and the more confident, especially in controlling their life and claiming their rights. There's different foundations of engaging and founding people. There was a story of a gentleman who was a leader of a great nation, and he was in charge of multitudes of people. And he was, at this time, they said that he was a very strategic thinker, but he was struggling as a leader because he had so many people that he had to take care of. And as he was struggling, his father-in-law saw him going through these battles. So his father came to him one night and said to him, you know, I see that you're overwhelmed and you have a lot of burdens of leadership. He said, I'm going to give you a plan that is going to help for dealing with the issue. He taught him how to set up a strategic plan by delegating the work so that the workload would be spread among many people. As a result, the manpower resources which were used was effective for him. And he was able to accomplish a lot because of that type of thinking. So when we talk about strategic thinking, that is what Transcend is all about. Information with advisors and coaches, and their desire is to help us and for you to become successful in all that you do. And one thing that you understand, when all we must do, we must always be able to count the cost, to be assured that you see yourself accomplishing them daily. And it's something that I've been telling myself every day. I say, I will. I want you guys to say this. Say, I will achieve all that I have set my mind to do today. Do that every day. Everybody's talking about when you get up to 90 minutes, you repeat these words to yourself. I will achieve all that I have set my mind to do today. And I put down here, remember, our success is an attitude. I spent almost 36 years in the Big O Tire organization. I started in Orange County as a store manager. And as a store manager, I went on in the store, they moved me from one of the smaller stores, and they had a real big store in Tustin that was, one of the largest stores. They moved me over that, and the store became successful and more successful, and eventually they put me into a role like an area manager, district manager. I was driving from Orange County to San Diego every day, overseeing like 8 to 9 stores for the Big O Tire chain. But during that time, as my time has gone on with Big O, I eventually moved into ownership. But sometimes, when things happen, and let me just backtrack. Things happen. I got mad because someone with Big O, if you did $1 million, you got a ring. It said it was $1 million ring, and I had gotten one from my store in Tustin. Then I moved to another store in Corona, and within 7 months, the store was projected to do like $700,000. Within 7 months, we brought it over to $1 million, and I was expecting another ring. And when we went to the convention, I was told, you can't have a ring because once you have one from one store, you can't have it in another one. Well, then I found out that I was not told the truth by the owner, one of the partners of the owner, and I got upset about that. And I let my pride and my anger get in the way, so I said, I'm out of here. So I left and went to work for another owner. Well, during that time, that turned out to be another disaster because that was just something, a whole nother owner. So I called back the original guys, and they said, well, we have a store out in Temecula, and we want, that store is not doing what it's supposed to be doing. And they knew the value that I had brought because of what has been instituted inside me to help turn stores around. So I got to that store, it was doing $85,000 a month. When we got to Temecula, and Temecula ended up doing over $2 million a year, like 2 or 3 years later. And I'm telling you all this because on the different strategies that I have had about being in business is never changed, and it will always be the same. One of my first strategies I had in my mind was, if my employees were 100% happy, then that 100% would translate into the customers being taken care of 100%. So I made sure that if they needed something and they couldn't afford it, I was able to allow them to have it. If they needed an oil change, or if they needed a used tire to get by, or whatever it may be. And they also saw me hiring employees that someone had just got out of jail and needed a job. Most places, I'd be interviewing them, and they say, well, man, I've put, applications in, but as soon as I put down that I just got out of a job, they didn't want nothing to do with me. I said, well, that's not me, because in my mind, I felt, I know you want to work, and I know if I teach you, you're going to be one of my best employees. And so I would hire, and they turn out to be the best employees. So in my mind, that just reinforced the philosophy: you take care of your customers, your employees, they're going to take care of your customers. Another strategy I had was, in every salesman, tire mounter, mechanic, all of them were vital to the business. I wanted to make sure they all knew that they were valuable to me and valuable to the business. I would treat them all the same. And my thought was, now if I train everybody to do my job, then that would make my job a lot easier. So I said, man, that's a great philosophy. I'll just make sure that I don't have to work so hard. But see, that always seemed to backfire on me, because whenever I trained someone really good, I would get a phone call, is this person ready for run a store? I go, yeah, why? We'll call you right back. Another day or two later, they're calling this guy to go run another store. So I would lose people just left and right going on to their other stores. Matter of fact, one of the gentlemen that used to work for me runs the the Ramona Tire down the street here, and some of the philosophies I'm getting ready to tell you about, what I taught him during there, he says, Kevin, I still use the same processes that you taught me years ago, and his store is one of the most successful stores in their tire chain. Another strategy was that I taught them that, like Daniel was saying, automotive sometimes has some of the worst reputation because customers would come in and you would get taken advantage of. Salesmen would want to sell you everything underneath the sun, regardless if you needed it or not. I taught these two guys, I said, look, if a customer comes in here, you don't look for money. That's not what we're here for. You're not here to gouge people. You're not here to oversell them. What you want to do is you're going to fix what they came in for. I keep wanting to say hit. I want to hit their car, but no. You want to attack their needs. I mean, what I mean by that is you satisfy their needs. You take care of the customer. I mean, it just used to upset me so much when I hear a customer coming in saying that I went down this and they charged me $1,500 for something that they didn't fix it. Then they bring it to me and I just reassure them. I say, look, my philosophy has always been this. If you bring it to me and I can't fix the problem, I'm not going to charge you for it. That's the way I've done business, and that's the way I've done business my whole life. Well, anyway, I said, when you take care of customers, most customers have 2.5 cars to 3 cars at home. What you do with that one car will dictate if you're going to get those other 2 or 3 cars in your shop. On top of that is also going to dictate if they're going to tell their family members. They got neighbors across the street. So how you treat them right now, I don't care if they're spending $5.95 for a flat repair or if they're getting a full brake job. You treat them the same way regardless. You take care of them. You make them feel like they're part of your family. Matter of fact, in my Big O, I used to have welcome to the Big O family sign right there on my showroom right here on Winchester. Because that's the way I felt about people. I felt about customers, that they were part of my family. I wanted them to feel that way. If a lady came in, I was like, I'm dealing with my mom. That's the way I put in my mind the way you're supposed to take care of people. I say, if you take care of them that way, then your finances, your money will come because you got people coming in. You see, you don't want to build business just one day. You want to build business one day at a time and taking care of them one day at a time, so you never have slow days because you've been doing it right for so long. Your repeat business is filling each day that you went at one time it was slow. Now every day is busy because the way you're taking care of customers. And that philosophy has been instrumental in that how that store went from $85,000 to over $163,000 a month to the $2 million status. One time they told me that Temecula store had a 20% market share in this whole valley of Temecula. And I used that philosophy when I was there, and then after, in that same ownership, in 2008, I was supposed to have been sold the rest of the percentage of Big O, and I would have been 100% owner here in Temecula. But they told me they couldn't sell it because they came up with some excuse, but they were willing to buy me out, and that's when I went down to Lake Elsinore and bought 100% of that store. And that store was closed. And so we went, and the same philosophies we helped, and then that store started coming around, and I ended up selling it in 2015. And the only reason why I sold that store was because, once again, when I lost my son in 2012, I just wanted to get out of this area, and which I did because, it was just I still had a lot of pain in my heart. Being in this area and reminding them, driving by Chaparral, and that's a whole different story. But I just say these things and the different strategies that I use in my business. And another one of my strategies is uniformity, appearance. I think appearance is one of the most important things that you can have when you're in business. When you drive by a tire store and you see all the labels straight, if you look inside the shop and you see everything uniform, everything straightened out, a tire label going all like this, or on out in the foyer, and you see all the tire labels straight, the tire stacks. To me, that's very important because I taught them, I say, look, whatever you have to do to break down the path of resistance. And I used to tell them in the meetings, I say, look, if you walk into a restaurant and you know you were hungry and you need to eat, and half all the tables had dirty dishes and stuff on them, would you sit in that restaurant and eat? No. Or you walked in the doctor's office and half of it was torn up and you saw used bandages all over the place, would you want to stop and stay there? No. You wouldn't feel comfortable. So you got to make sure that when people walk in, their first impression of your business has to be a great impression. You have to be in uniform. Your store has to be clean. I remember my stepmother came to my shop from L.A., because they're not used to seeing shops like this. And because I used to have my guys wax the floors like twice a week. She said, your shop floor, you eat off of. That's just what my mindset was, because it was about the customer. It wasn't about us. It's always been about the customer. And when you have strategies like that is about the customer, you're putting the customer first, then the customer will feel that and they will know that. And I also taught them some other strategies that when you're speaking to people and you're talking to customers, you look them right in the eye. You don't turn around and look away, because when you're looking away from a customer and you're trying to sell them a product and you're not being honest, you'll look away. And then they'll know that you're not being forthright with them. And that's not what we're all about. We're about truth. We're about helping the consumer. And as Dan was saying, I have a soft heart for just about everybody. When it comes to, widows, when it comes to people that just lost their job or something of that nature, I'm there to help. And I believe that's what it has created business and increased business and brought new business in. So after 2015, after I sold my business, I got into life insurance, health insurance, and financial market. And I still had that license, but I had some free time, and so I ended up getting back into the automotive with a friend of mine who actually, when in Corona, it used to be my my assistant manager. He now owns a store in Corona, and so I'm working with him right now. But before then, I went to his Riverside store, which was doing like $25,000, $30,000 a month. And the same principles that I've talked to you about today, I used there. And that store went from, with 1 year, it doubled from 25 to 30 up to 55,000, up to 75,000 the third year. And it's all about people. If you would have looked on Yelp, the Yelp reviews, and that's another thing about nowadays. Back in the old days, word of mouth was how you built business. Nowadays, it's Yelp, it's Google, it's your stars. How many stars do you want? How many stars do you have? You have 4 stars or 5 stars. I had a lot of customers coming in saying that I Googled a business and I saw your store and they had 5 stars, so that's why I'm here. That's important. And not only that, it holds you accountable. It really holds you accountable if you have 5 stars, that you want to keep it at 5 stars. So you're going to do whatever it takes to satisfy that customer and set them at ease. We can do appearance. Let's see what else we got here. Rather in life and business, so much that they went through today. What Dan was talking about stress, and there was. Stress is important. And I remember my father once told me, he said, whatever causes less stress is valuable. And that is really stuck in my head when you were talking about stress and the things that you have to eliminate. And it is, having your own business sometimes was stressful. There were some times it was stressful, but then there was a lot of times that when you knew that you were taking care of people and you were helping people, that the stress wasn't there anymore. Because to me, the best thing is when a person leaves and they're happy and they're satisfied. To me, that's the best feeling in the world that any person can have. And you're in the people-pleasing business, when you're in a customer-oriented business, And I always tell anybody that if you're going to be in a customer-oriented business, you got to love people. You got to really love people, because if you don't love people, you're in the wrong business. You got to love people. You got to want to take care of people. Because my mindset is that, like I said, when I was in Temecula, I had parents that would send their kids in with their cars, and knowing that they would be taken care of right. I can tell you now what that store is doing, and it hurts my heart when I heard what has happened to that store right here in Temecula, and it has really gone down. And that was a great store, but it's back to doing what it used to do back in 1997, and we're in 2020, and it shouldn't be that way. But well, let me just say, rather in business, and we have to plan for your success. It's not like we were saying that sometimes you will hit a bump in the road. But I really believe those bumps in the roads are there to keep you on your pathway to succeed, or your path to success. Like Daniel said, I have had setbacks. I've had a couple setbacks, major setbacks in my life with my son, and also, he forgot. I don't know if he ever knew, but I had a daughter when she was 2 that passed away in a fire. But I'm not saying that, for no sympathy. I just know that there's setbacks, but I know that I don't want to, divine intervention of what God has brought me through is one that has helped me to deal with a lot of stuff in my own life. And I really believe that when I think about these things and the setbacks, there's just one thing that I know. It says, and I don't want to offend anybody, but I just want to say that there's a scripture that says, "For I know the plans that I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, but plans to give you hope and a future." And I really believe that in my own life. And I know that when you strategically set things in order in your life, if we have the goals that we have, the goals that they talked about today, the 90-minute goals, your 90-day challenge. To get to your 90-day challenge, you're going to have to sit down and strategically map out how you're going to get there. You're going to have to count the cost. You're going to have to count and see, what's it going to take for me to get where I need to be. Prior to this, I sat down and in the beginning of the year made goals of 2020. I did 7 personal goals and 7 spiritual goals. But one of the things and then I wrote down on this for us for today, also on this day, our strategy on the 90-day challenge, I said, number 1, as everyone said, we got to set goals and write them down. We have to speak them every day during the 90-day challenge over your life. And these goals that I have written down, I've been sitting down, and every morning when I get up, I read these goals to myself. I speak these goals. She talked about make a plan. Count the cost, and then make an action plan. Everything that everyone is talking about, we are all on the same page. And then I have seek help from the advisors. Seek transcend for guidance, for help. Number 4, I said we have to keep a positive attitude. We have to keep a positive attitude. No matter what life throws at you, what it may happen, you may get up in the morning and have a flat tire. Don't worry, you got a spare. If you don't got a spare, you got AAA. If you ain't got AAA, you got a friend. If you got a friend, you got to go make a friend. There's resources. There's nothing that we can't do. We got to keep a positive attitude. There's also, we got to look for resources, or we got to look for strategies for your plan. You got to look in books. You got to look in the internet, Google, whatever it's going to take for you to get to your resources and those strategies. And last but not least, one of the last things is what they talked about earlier is you got to know your self-worth. You got to know who you are. You got to say to yourself, I am special. I am blessed. And you are special. Every single one of you are special. When I talked at Chaparral School, I told those kids, the first thing I told them, I says, look to your left and tell that person that you're special. Now look to your right and tell that person you're special. Because a lot of us grew up, sometimes a teacher telling you, you're never going to amount to nothing. Or you're going to be just like your father. Or you're going to do this or do that. We are special. We are created special. You guys are all special. I mean, everyone in here, if you can see from what I see everybody's, spirit in here. It's wonderful. It is. And we got to know that you're special. And you know that you're blessed. And there's nothing that can stop you. Nothing. No, nothing to stop us. And I think, I don't know what time the time is. These glasses, I got to confess, man, I need new glasses. They're not as good as they used to be, or my eyes are not as good as they used to be. One or the other. But no, I just want to let you know that it's important that, you do, and if you look at life and everything that we've gone through and everything that we see, there's strategies to get you to where you need to be. Strategy is not a hidden word. We have strategies in life. When you get a new job, and you're going to have a particular position, one of my goals I wrote down was, full-time life and health insurance agent and financial planner. Well, I'm working another full-time job. I got to have a strategy of when I stop that one and start this one. I have to have a goal set and a strategy. There's 90-day goals we have to set, and there's long-term goals that you're going to have to set. And as you make the steps, as they were talking about, and you start achieving these goals, you're not going to achieve nothing if you don't write it down and look at it and put your mind and your heart to it. And I'm not talking just to you, I'm talking to myself right now. You have to be serious about what you want to do. I put another deal to make $150,000 plus this year. So for me to do that, there's a strategy that I'm going to have to do to make that a realization. And one of my last ones was, I want to finish writing my book on grieving called We Will Survive. That's just something that I really want to do. And that's a strategy that I have to sit down and make I've started it, but I've letting it get off course because of everyday life or excuses. But I really want to leave you with this, that my last thing, and number 7 that I had, is pray. To me, that's one of the most important things in my life.